Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we're talking about how Call of Duty has finally heard the community's outcries about SBMM. They said they're looking into getting rid of skill-based matchmaking, which is huge for the community, as the community's been complaining about this for years now, ever since they added it in. So right now, this is really huge. But without further ado, let's get into the topic. So first, they talked about what consists of the matchmaking, which they showed a little graph and then broke it down a little bit, which we'll get into, as well as they answered a lot of community questions. Some of the questions were very manipulative questions that meaning like the questions came from people who was just easy manipulated, basically sheep that just believe anything, which doesn't make sense. But we'll touch on some of those questions just to show you guys, like if you, in case you're one of them. I'm not saying you are, in case you're one of them, but we'll touch on some of those questions, and then we'll touch on the serious questions, the question that we care about, that's actually going to make a difference in our gameplay and our experience as a whole. So let's get into that. So here we got the graph of which consists of the matchmaking process, which here we got connection, time to match, skill performance, platform, voice chat, input device, recent maps and modes, and playlist diversity. Now this is a lot going into matchmaking. What I see is connection should be one of the number one things, as well as time to match just a little bit, not nothing too crazy, but no one wants to be waiting so long to get into a match, as well as skill performance. The rest of these things, I feel like the old CODs did them well, so it shouldn't be that much hard to have to switch up and change up. Besides platform and maybe input device. Platform, I feel like that should just be an off the rip, whether you want to play cross platform or not. I feel like consoles should always be together because consoles have a hard time hacking, so they can avoid PC player. And this is coming from a console player myself. I used to be a console player all my life until recently. I just got a PC, so I can understand why you would want to play PC. I mean console only. But connection, yes, that's big because you don't want to be playing in a lobby that has bad connection. Although we're not doing peer-to-peer connection like we used to do. We should be all be connecting to the servers where no one has to be worried about their information or people hacking into them, their IP and whatnot. As far as time to match, like I said, yeah, it shouldn't take that long. But I feel like Call of Duty's player base has been big, so I don't. That's one of the things they say a lot in this blog is about time to match to go against everything they said, but if they have a set playlist where there's a good selection, I don't feel like the player pool should be that shortened. And skill performance, that's the big thing we're all here for. Skill performance, that's where they said they're looking into, but I feel like we all know skill performance and skill based matchmaking should be a thing in ranked and rank only, which rank does well, by the way, to a degree, but it shouldn't be in regular gameplay where people just want to relax, use any weapon, and not have to worry about playing the next people their level. It should just be randomized, so sometimes you get good games, sometimes you get bad games. It shouldn't have to be where you're using your best weapon just to keep up so you can try to get a win. You can't even enjoy yourself. There's a bunch of weapons in the game for a reason. You should be able to do anything you want, whatever vibe you're feeling at that moment, at that day, at that time. But the rest of these things seem pretty weird. They also said the input device, which I'm assuming they meant controller, but they also said in the blog about voice chat. I don't Voice chat shouldn't really matter whether you have it enabled or disabled. You get what I mean? Like if you want to talk, you want to talk. We all know the golden ages of MW and Black Ops where, the lives used to go crazy, but that shouldn't matter. But as far as mouse and keyboard and control, I can slightly understand. But the aim assist in this game is pretty decent, pretty strong. It's not nothing too crazy, so it can match up. But if I know a mouse and keyboard player has really mastered their craft, I can understand that it really might be hard for a controller player to keep up because the movement can go crazy on mouse and keyboard. So can the aim, but that takes years of practice. So I'm not really too concerned on that. And the recent maps and modes, I mean, come on, that really doesn't weigh on the matchmaking. But let's get into more information. So for the community questions, they go into responding about, do paid skins such as bundles, battle pass, the black cell, does it get a boost in matchmaking for better lobbies? And they confirmed that this was no. personally, I don't know where this trend came from of asking this type of question, but I think I could see why it is a question, but then again, it's like kind of outrageous because you know how pay to win that would be and how bad that would look on their behalf. But let's get into some more questions. So another question is, does the Call of Duty matchmaking process impact any end-game elements such as hit registration, player visibility, aim assist, damage, etc.? And they said no to this. Now, I feel like I don't. I mean, they said no, and it's coming from straight from them. But I feel like if your connection is bad, your hit registration would be bad. But I'm considering them saying no if you have good connection, because if you have bad connection, your bullets is probably gonna miss. Let's be real. Every bullet has a ping on it. You know what I mean? So, for the sake of you having good connection, I'm taking it as a no. Nothing should, impact your matchmaking experience. So yeah, but I can understand this question of why it was asked. But on to the next question. This question is, does Call of Duty consider player engagement time played as a factor in matchmaking? And they said no, they don't consider that. I don't understand why this was questioned. I kind of do, but I kind of don't. I can understand, like, if you have if you're no life in Call of Duty, let's put it this way, and you have all the time in your hands and you have free time, you get really good. But that would all go to your rank because some people could be really bad and some people don't have the adaptive skill. So they could put all the time in the world and they could just be really bad at the game. And there's players like that. There's players who've been playing since Call of Duty 4 and they haven't improved, but they enjoy the game. So, I mean, I can understand why they say it doesn't take, but on the other hand, I can probably see rank and your skill level or your KD playing in a factor in that. But no, time, as far as time, yes, it shouldn't matter. I understand why you ask, but people really got to think when they ask these questions, because come on now. Now, in this question, it asks, does Call of Duty use bots in multiplayer matchmaking? And Call of Duty says no, they do not use bots in general matchmaking process. But if it changes in the future, they will inform the community. Now, this lets me know that they've been thinking about using bots, and not saying they haven't used bots. They definitely used bots in the past as far as like a training camp. It was basically like a tutorial, an easy way to level up, but it was half the XP back in the day. I don't know if you guys remember this. And it was more so like just a real training ground for multiplayer. Like if you didn't really know anything and you were really new, you was able to get into like a bot lobby with recruit bots, very easy bots, and just play the game. With very few real players. But I'm hoping that they don't ever actually use bots like Fortnite does, because that'll make the game feel more dead inside. I'm hoping this is not them trying to say that their player pool is getting really low or something, because using bots in like in this kind of game, I don't know. For me personally, I feel like it would ruin the experience. I don't want to be killing bots. It's really not that fun. Like, yeah. That's all I really can say. Now, in this question, it asks, do partners or content creators get special consideration in general matchmaking? And it says, no, we do not change the matchmaking process based on who owns the account. In specific cases, such as for events like Call of Duty Next, we may be required to customize how lobbies are formed. However, these events usually take place in private matches and do not impact the general matchmaking, which is all understandable. Most of the streamers, and just some regular players, but it's mostly the streamers who we see get these really good lobbies. I can say it for myself. We all know they're using VPN. I've been playing this game since since MW2, but online, mostly Black Ops 1, and that's when I really got into Call of Duty. And once they introduced SBMM, you can tell just by who's producing content, who's really like just good, and then who's in VPN lobbies. I used to be literally number one, like probably the number one dude in hardcore dom for Cold War. My videos are still up. You can go check those out. I didn't do no VPN lobbies. I was always in a sweat lobby fest, and I know when someone's faking and someone's not. You can just tell when someone's in if they're not using meta weapon. Like once you get really good to a point and you see that person's good, they're gonna be in lobbies where everyone's using meta weapons. You run into these streamers and they're playing with non-meta weapons and they're just showing off, doing good. Those are VPN lobbies, And not every, I understand everybody doesn't want to play in a sweaty lobby, but that's what it is. And this is what causes that confusion for this question to be asked. So I'm just putting it out there. Now the next question that was asked, it says, have you ever considered an opt-in opt-out system for the matchmaking algorithm? And the answer was, our data suggests that the splitting the player base with an opt-in opt-out matchmaking system will have a negative consequence on the overall player pool. That means potentially longer wait times based on the type of matchmaking selected, plus an add into that playlist, map, mode, history, platform, and more, and matches with poor connections, which is very understandable. Um, yeah, that would split the player pool in half with all the other splits that's already invested into the the pool or whatnot. So, like anytime they do like a map like Rust 24/7, and then they have opt in opt out for sweats, that's already cutting that for the people who want to be sweaty. But yeah, I can understand that why they wouldn't have that. But this is the most important question we've been waiting on, and the question we've been wanting answers for. Have you ever tested removing skill as a consideration for matchmaking? And the answer was, we have run tests over the years to determine if removing skill as a consideration from matchmaking makes sense. We will continue to launch these tests periodically. To date, the data remains consistent with that detailed above. Players tend to quit matches or stop playing if they're getting blown out, resulting in a negative overall experience for all players in the lobby. Pause. That blown out was pause. And the general player population. We purposefully do not disclose when these tests occur because it may impact the feedback or data we see during the test. Now, the fact that they've been doing tests and they still haven't removed it, it kind of hurts knowing that. But I mean, they're still hearing the community's outcry about it. I think they should just have ranked in every Call of Duty now and let that be, the system. They've been having ranked mostly in every Call of Duty, so I don't understand. Well, I do understand. The reason why they do have SBMM and regular general gameplay is because for lower KDs. They're trying to give the chance for lower KDs to just play lower KDs. Like, say you're a 0.5 and there's no SBMM, there's gonna be a chance you play a guy who's a 10-point KD, you know, and you're never gonna kill him. You're just never. You'd be lucky if you even shot him. You get what I mean? But and then that's just gonna happen on a daily basis. But if you're in SBMM, on the other hand, they're gonna try to put you in a lobby where you get a chance to win. You get it, because you're gonna run it. If there's no SBM, you're gonna have a chance. You're playing lobbies like that every game where you're facing a dude who's 10 times your KD and you can't even get a kill, and that guy's just like godlike. You know what I mean? So I get why there's SBMM, but it only caters to the players who are not so good. For the players who are good, they just have to sweat and play people their skill level, which kind of makes sense and it's fair. But nobody wants to do that in a general gameplay where it's just like a quick match, and you got to put on this sweat fest. They're not going in a rank. They're not. So it's like on both sides, it's fair, but at the same time, it's just like they it shouldn't be there. So I get both sides of it, but this is where we're at right now. Hopefully they do remove it because I do still, me personally, believe there shouldn't be skill-based matchmaking in general gameplay. That should be left for the people who want to play a rank and whatnot. So hopefully we'll see the outcome on that. So another question that was asked was, have you considered removing skill from matchmaking in specific general multiplayer game modes? And the answer to that was, we have considered this in the past. We will continue to examine if this idea makes sense as a part of the experimental playlist or in specific modes. We have nothing to announce on that front today. So basically, it's another SBMM question, and they're still just experimenting. I feel like if you're playing in the general, I feel like there should be a game mode, or they could add this to rank, as I do feel like SBMM should only be in rank. If you're solo and you don't have friends and you don't have that much friends, or you're just by yourself online at that moment, there should be they had this in the past, I believe, as well. There should be a solo playlist where just solos, like you're with nobody else, you don't have a party, and you queue in the lobby where there's nobody in parties. It's just a random put together team, one by one, which would make it fair. That way, no one has chemistry on their team. It's just whatever those players do, they do. You know what I mean? So if they want to do that for rank, that would be nice. I think that would be a nice little thing. But it also may split the pool for rank, considering rank doesn't have playlists. It's just rank. So that could split the pool just a little bit. Um, but who knows? I do feel like that should be a thing though. They did have a lot of game modes back in the day, and I do know that split the pool. But the player base back then was huge. I would consider it being huge still now to this day. I don't know, but hopefully that's something they would add. I think that would be a nice feature. I have a bunch of ideas, but no one's gonna listen to me till I get big. You know what I mean? So, but other than that, hopefully they do put SBMM in rank only, and I do know that they're only testing this in multiplayer. But hopefully this happens for Warzone as well, as we know Warzone rank is coming soon, and we don't have to play with sweats no more. I do know this is probably unfortunate to the lower player base, the lower skilled player base, as they don't really have too much to, fend on. And unless, I don't know, they can, no, that would just split the player pool. But yeah, it's really hard. Like, I definitely do know this is like a hard thing. But the only way to get better is by playing better people. And SBMM does do that. But you can go play rank for that. You know what I mean? Like, if the people who are lower level really want to face people who at their skill level, let them go play a rank, and they'll learn slowly and gradually by playing those better players, and and they'll get better. That's how everybody gets better. You got to face somebody better than you to learn. It's like when you learn from your sensei and you outdo your sensei because you gradually kept playing somebody who's better than you, and you overcame your sensei. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Stay tuned as we got more videos coming. We got more content coming, Call of Duty related, non-Call of Duty related, who knows. But you guys know I love Call of Duty, so there's always gonna be some Call of Duty content coming in. But hope you guys appreciated the gameplay, the information. Hopefully they do remove SBMM. But please like and sub, and I'll let you guys in the next one.